Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode going over the Bauble Quilt behind me. We're going to do some assembly today. So we're going to be at the machine. We're going to be getting some stuff sewn and have a good time doing that. I'm Tammy. I'm the Siberian Wind. I'm glad to have you along. I see Andrea from Mama J Enterprises is here in the chat. She says, howdy, howdy, howdy. Tammy and chat, glad to see you today. Thank you, Andrea. I am glad you made it. And as you come into the chat today, as with all of my freebie classes, you do not have to be a subscriber to chat in my classes. I do reserve the Tuesday nights and Saturday mornings and Sunday nights. I reserve those as subscriber only. You only have to be a subscriber for 5 minutes in order to chat. However, for my classes, you do not have to be a subscriber to chat. So if you do have any questions about today's presentation, absolutely put those in the chat. Ask away. I do read all of my chat questions. If the chat is moving too fast, I will slow down a little bit so that I can answer everything. I'm just going to get a couple of little things that can fall out of the way so we don't have those going on today. So, as the title of the video suggests today, this is Class 2. Kathy from My Hobby Home is here as well. She says, hello, only here for a second. We'll catch it on replay. Absolutely, Kathy. Thanks for stopping in this morning. I appreciate it. So this is Class 2 for this quilt. And what we did last week is we cut this quilt out. Now, I know that there's going to be a lot of uproar, and I'm fully prepared for that, because the pattern that I used for this is an Accuquilt Studio die that you can only use on an Accuquilt Studio or Studio 2 cutter. You do not have, I don't know, and I have not had a chance to look. I have been so busy taking care of a lot of other obligations that I have going on. I have not had a chance to fully look into whether or not you can get this die for an Accuquilt Go cutter or Go Big cutter. And there's one very similar to it. It is a chisel die, but I don't know that it is the exact same size. So I don't want to tell you that you can, but I don't want to tell you that you can't. So I don't know for sure, but I will have more information as we go along, and before we get to Class 3, I will have that information. Donnell has also joined the chat. She says, hey Tammy, Andrea, and Kathy. Welcome in, Donnell. Glad you made it. So the Accuquilt Studio die numbers that I used to cut my pieces is in the description box below. Annette has also joined the chat. She says, hello quilters, welcome in, Annette. Glad you made it. So the studio dies are listed in the chat. So if you do have an Accuquilt Studio die cutter, you can get those dies and be able to cut this just the way that I did. If you do not have a studio cutter, you don't have access to a Studio or Studio 2 cutter, and you can't get those dies, there's going to be two options available at the end of the series. So I don't want you to think that because this is cut with a studio die, and that I'm not sure that there is a regular Go die available for it. I also don't want you to think that you have to have an Accuquilt cutter in order to be able to complete this pattern. I'm going to be issuing out 2 versions of the pattern by next week. So I have 1 week from today to get all of that set up. The free pattern is going to be the one from the Accuquilt Studio. Actually, I apologize. The free pattern is going to be a version of this. It will be in a different size. So I haven't been putting out the size of this quilt because I don't want you to focus on the size of the quilt. That is key, because the free pattern version is going to be something that you can cut at home. It will be using 2.5-inch strips, so jelly roll strips. It will be using those. So I will go over how you're going to cut this using what you have available at home. And then we are also going to go over, and I will give you guys the actual die layout. But you do have to purchase that pattern, and I am going to, it's just going to be token like $1 or something like that. I don't have the final details on that. That is part of what I'm going to be working on this week. I've got a lot of time carved out to work on that specifically. So don't panic. I know that I've been busy, super busy, and haven't been able to get everything prepped in advance for you guys, but it will be prepped before next week. So when you come back to watch video 3, at the end of video 3, once video 3 is done and we are, wrapping up, I will be able to put those links in there so you can go click the link and get the free version and do the 2.5 inch strip version. It's going to look slightly different because, again, it's a different size. Or you can go click the link to go purchase the dollar pattern, and you will have the actual templates to follow. So I will give you sizes to cut. You'll have the templates. I will make it as easy as possible. There's going to be some hand drawing in the pattern because I'm going to have to get this drawn out so you guys understand exactly what you need to cut and how you need to cut it to make this same effect and make it just as simple as this one is. So, what I cut last time, and let me bring you guys over to the machine. Donnell says she's washing dishes while listening during her lunch. That is a game plan, Donnell. Absolutely. I can't listen to anything while I wash dishes. Thankfully, I don't have to. My husband likes doing that task. But I can't usually listen to anything while I wash dishes because I hear the water too much. I don't know what it is about the frequency, but that's my brain. That's my brain on washing dishes. All right, so we cut 2 chisel styles. One is a reverse of the other, okay? So all of my polka dot coral print is cut one direction. All of my swirl orangey creamsicle color is cut the other direction. Then my other pairing, actually I apologize, that was not supposed to be my pairing. My pairing was supposed to be the polka dots and this speckled mottled print. That is one pairing. And they are, let's see, 2 hands, need 2 hands. All right, they are reverses of each other. So the angle goes up on one side and down on the other. And then the coral, the creamsicle orangey color, and then the creamsicle orangey mottled print are the other pair. Okay, so those are the chisel shapes that we cut out last week. And I did have to finish cutting them. I have way too many here. This is going to be way more than we need. Okay, so I don't want you to panic. If you don't have this big of stacks, if you're making a baby quilt, if you don't have this big of stacks, don't panic. This is more than we need. We will be good. Mike is in the chat. He says, "Hey Tammy, lurking while sewing," telling Donnell gets to get back to work. Mike, you're so funny. She is working. And he's saying hello to Annette. All right, and so this is one of the navy prints. I did cut triangles as well, and the wonderful thing about the triangles is you can layer them. You can fan fold them on the die, and you can still get your perfect shape because it is reversible. Now, one of the things I will point out, when you use an Accuquilt cutter, if you've never used one before, your dog ears are already cut off for you. So you're not going to end up with the awkward, triangle pointy thing sticking out. In the purchase pattern, you're going to have the template that's going to show you where those dog ears are. In the free pattern, I may not be able to do that. Okay? So, but there will be that pattern issued out. All right, and so this is the other print. This is a navy blue sky print that also has gold speckles on it. So we have a silver stack and we have a gold stack. Let's see. To dry off her hands for this one. Oh, that's funny. Donnell's coming back to get on the mic for telling her to keep working. Oh, okay. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I have stacked my 2 different sets of my coral chisels. Now, if you cut the exact number of what you need, and you'll have more information in your printed patterns at the end of the series, but if you cut exactly what you need, you don't have to do it this way. But when you didn't cut, or you didn't count and you just cut, here's what we're going to do. Andrea says that she's watching on the big screen and chatting on the computer, and they're not synced, so she might say something before or way after. That is perfectly fine, Andrea. That is perfectly fine. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. This is my silver stack of triangles. So I've got 4 different colors of chisels. So I'm going to pull out 4 triangles of my silver, and I'm going to sew 1 of each of these, and then I will pull out 4 of my gold and sew 1 of each of those. Okay? When you are making this pattern, let's go to this bauble right here. Okay? You'll have a navy, or well, okay, so this is a coral in the one that we're doing right now. So we're going to have a coral with 1 shade of background, and then we're going to have a coral with the other shade of background. Okay? And that is for this entire block. You're going to have this shade of coral with this background and this shade of coral with this background. So you need 1 of each to form this entire block. So you need, I'm going to pull out my 4 corals so I don't mess up and get out of order. So those are the 4 that I'm going to sew. 1 of each, and I'm going to sew it with this silver. And for my brain, I know how my brain works. I'm putting the gold on top, the gold triangle stack. I'm going to put that on top, and that is going to hold my place, so I know that's the next color I need to pull out. And you can sew these either direction. I know with my flying geese, if you guys have watched my series, I don't like sewing from the point down into the middle, and this kind of works the same way. Although you can sew with the point towards the middle, or like the point and then sew towards the middle, I don't recommend doing that. I'm going to go ahead and sew this one, and then I'm going to show you guys how I'm lining this up and how I'm sewing the opposite side. And my particular presser foot does allow me to go back and forth, so I know I have a 1/4 inch seam exactly where I am. Okay, so I don't have to have my 1/4 inch seam on this side of my foot. I can have it on the other side. And let me actually position this light a little bit better so you guys might be able to see it. There we go. All right, so what I'm doing, and this is the wonderful thing about Accuquilt dies and the fact that the dog ears are cut off for you. When you lay your triangle on top, you have your perfectly cut dog ears up here. They match. And then you have your perfectly cut dog ear here, and it matches. You don't have to worry about whether or not this is in the right placement. And that's a fantastic thing. You don't have to stress about it. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to do any of that. Now, if your presser foot does not have a 1/4 inch on the left-hand side, and you don't want to do that, you can sew it this direction. But I hate doing that. So what you could do is you could put the triangles on bottom. If you are okay with that, then you can do that. I personally right now can't hold it, so I'm not going to do that. Now you can pin it if you like to pin, or you don't mind pinning. You absolutely could pin, and you know it works fantastic. I don't like to pin. if you've never been on my channel before, I will go ahead and tell you right now, if and when you see me pull out the straight pins, you know that it is something that I'm either struggling with and having problems with. I'm going to move this camera just a little bit, you guys. You know, it's something I'm struggling with or having problems with, or it's something that I've never done before. Oh, sorry. I'm going to zoom you guys in just a hair if I can. And yes, my camera is working. Yay. Woohoo. Little victories, right? Little victories. All right. Jody is here. She says, hello, all watching while hand sewing Hexies. Awesome. Mike says that he loves piles of perfectly cut fabric. So satisfying, right? Absolutely, because you can stack them, and then it looks so uniform. It's amazing. And he never saw that side switch. Are you talking about on the presser foot? Is that what you've never seen? You've never seen somebody never seen somebody swap their pieces over to sew on the other side? Now, I will tell you this. The other thing with Accuquilt, if you guys also don't know, because I sew micro minis and I sew tiny things all the time, I typically sew with a scant 1/4 inch seam. Accuquilt is cut with a true 1/4, which means as long as you are sewing from the point that the Accuquilt die makes for you to the next point that the Accuquilt die makes for you, you will have a perfectly sewn seam. Judy says, I'm late. You're fine, Judy. You're fine. Oh, the presser foot swap? Yeah. Yeah, I've done that for years. That's one of the nice things about Bernina. And let me actually show you guys, because I can take my presser foot off and I'll still be okay. All right, so this is a 97D. This is not a typical quilting foot. So the Bernina feet will have a white label. You can't read it in my camera, so I apologize for that. This cutout in the back of the foot, before you guys ask, is for dual feed. It works like a walking foot. So that is what that is for. All right. So this foot, this is where your needle is going to be, right in the screw right here. This little marking, this little hash marking that you see here is 1/8 of an inch. And then the inside edge of this toe is at 1/4 of an inch. So on the reverse, the little edge right here, the little lip right here is 1/8 of an inch on your right hand side. And then the edge of this presser foot is a scant 1/4. Your full 1/4, and this one's a little bit harder to see from this angle, but your full 1/4 is this little lip right out here. Okay, so you do have a little lip right there that is a full 1/4. Now, on either side of the presser foot, and this side is a little bit easier to see on, you have 3 markings. You have here, here, and here. This helps with binding. This marking here is a 1/4 inch before the needle. This is at your needle marking, and this is a 1/4 inch behind the needle marking. So you have markings on your presser foot. I'm not sure if 37 and 57 or 57D have all these same markings. I believe they have a lot of them, but 97D is the foot that I use because of the scant 1/4 and all of the extra markings, because I do like that about that. All right. Mike says that his brain is old school. Andrea says that she sews on both sides of the needle, whichever is most convenient. I do most things with both hands too, so my brain just thinks that way. And Mike says, Andrea, it wrecked my brain. Yeah, it's kind of a crossover from the time that I did garment sewing, because our new Bernina rep. Well, I did used to sell Berninas. Okay, so some of my experience is coming from the time that I spent selling Bernina sewing machines. I was telling somebody the other day that I used to sell sewing machines, and I went, Yeah, I used to sell sewing machines by the seashore. Say that 5 times fast. The only thing harder is saying that like Sandy sold sewing machines by the seashore. That's a little bit harder. All right, so what I've done, let me actually zoom back out because this is the second time we've done this, so I want to show you guys again. All right, so in the first video, we cut all of our chisels and we cut all of our triangles. You've got 4 different chisels, and each chisel is its own color, okay? So we've got the dark coral, medium coral, and I didn't put these in the right order, but it will still look just fine. I've got a creamsicle swirl orange and a mottled orange, okay? And they are matched by which direction the pairs go. So every bit of all of the creamsicle is cut one direction. All of the mottled is cut a different direction. So, it's all paired up, okay? So if you've not watched video 1, go back and watch video 1 and you'll see why we're doing that. And then I've cut 2 different navy triangles. And these are the matching triangles for these chisels. And I also was cutting on these during the video. So what I've done is I've laid out my 4 chisel sets, and I've got I've got my triangle sets as well. What I did for the first set is I pulled out 4 of my triangles in the set I was starting with, which was going to be the silver glitter navy, okay? And I have sewn one of those triangles to one of each of those chisels, okay? Now I've pulled out my navy with my gold, and I'm going to do the same thing. So now that I pulled out my navy with my gold, I'm putting my navy with my silver back on the stack so that I know when I get done with these 4, matching these up, then I'm going to pull the silver and start over again. Mike says, very good, Tammy. I was ready to buy. One of the regular jokes I got was that I could sell ice to I could sell ice to an Eskimo. Is that the phrase? I think that's the phrase that I was told. It was repeated. Like it was, that was constantly what I got told, is that I had some mad selling skills. And I'm not trying to sell you necessarily on Bernina over another brand. Bernina has its drawbacks. You do want to have your machine serviced by a reputable Bernina dealer every time you have it serviced. If you do not have it serviced by a reputable Bernina dealer, you could be voiding the warranty. I do recommend that you keep your box when you buy a Bernina, so that should you ever need to ship it back, you've got the original shipping box, so you don't have to pay for a new box, because they will charge you for a new box. Mike says, ice to an Eskimo. I was interested in the foot. Yeah, I mean, okay. So I love Bernina. I absolutely love Bernina. Is it for everyone? Probably not. There's a lot of people who think Bernina is too expensive. I do disagree. I think Bernina is priced fairly for the quality that you're getting. Is it in everybody's budget? No. It is definitely not in everybody's budget. And I think that's the one disadvantage, is that you can't make a Bernina that fits everybody's budget. So, I do love Bernina. Can I afford to buy another Bernina? No, I cannot. In order for me to buy another Bernina, I would have to sell a lot of quilts. I would have to sell off a lot of things. I could not afford to buy another one of these if I wanted to. So, they're gorgeous machines. They're fantastic. Financially out of reach for a lot of people. And I admit for that. I do admit for that. Mike says, you pay for quality. I always do. Yeah, you do. Yeah. If you want something that's going to last, you do pay for that quality. With the Accuquilt Studio, is it in everybody's budget? No, absolutely not. A studio cutter is incredibly expensive. However, there is not a single Accuquilt die that Accuquilt has put out that I cannot cut. So even if I don't own the die, if someone else does, if they bring that die over, I can cut with it. I mean, it's not a super portable system, but it does everything that I ever wanted. So, you know, there's the trade-offs. There's the trade-offs, and you have to decide what's more important to you. Judy says that she is listening while waiting in the school line. Welcome in, Judy neighbors. Glad you made it. We have both Judys in the chat this morning. Yay! So today is really going to be just this. This is all we are doing. We are sewing all of these together in these pairs. So you're sewing all of these chisels to triangles, and you want to make sure that you are doing them evenly if you have not counted how many pieces you cut. If you are following the pattern when I issue that out at the end of the series, then you will have an exact number. So you could stop cutting when you get to that exact number. I did not stop cutting when I got to an exact number. All I did was I kept on cutting all of the yardage that I had. All right, we got Laura Lynn here as well. Welcome in, Laura Lynn. Glad you made it from Mom and Pop Quilt Shop. Mike says, oh, you have the studio. Okay, man. Okay, Tammy, where do you store everything? All right, so the Studio 2 has fold-up arms, so it compacts down a little bit. So it actually sits in my closet floor right past this door that you guys can't see. So this light switch turns on the light in the walk-in closet. And it's not really a walk-in closet because I can like take one step in there and that's it. It's not really walk-in. It's step in. Andrea says, I cannot afford anything fancy on my Social Security. If I do not win it, I probably would not have it. The one thing that I have left to try to win is a machine with a long neck, or however you say it. Long arm, yeah. That's kind of where I'm at now. If it's not something I save up for, like $20 a month here and there, or $5 a month here and there, there is no affording it. So I'm with you, Andrea. I am totally with you on that. Judy says, I like the Juki machines. I have 2 brothers sewing and embroidery machines. If my embroidery machine dies, then I'll look at other machines and get one that will fit my budget and needs. Absolutely. Oh, the enormous dies. Actually, they're actually not that big. I don't have a whole lot of space, but I have a bookshelf, and if you guys will pardon for a second, let's see. Let me grab my other screen, and let me bring you guys off of this machine, and I will point this camera at my bookshelf so you guys can see where. Okay, so you will have to pardon the mess, so I do apologize, and I'm not like bracing the camera, okay? So if you see these green dies down here and these couple of wooden ones, that's all the dies that I have. I don't have a whole lot, but they all fit on that bookshelf. They can't stand up, so they do have to lay down. I don't have any of the 24-inch dies. That bag, in case you guys are wondering, is batting that I was gifted, and that bag is left over from Monday night where I took things to go teach, and I still haven't unpacked. So, yeah, they all fit on the bookshelf. There's nothing fancy. And I reorganized my storage to make sure things fit. Judy says, I bought all my machines before I retired. I couldn't do it now on Social Security. Yeah, no, I couldn't either. All of my machines were bought before I stopped working, or stopped being able to work. I could not afford them now if I wanted to. So, I'm in that same boat. There is no afford it later or anything like that. It is, if I didn't afford it beforehand, I can't do it now. Mike says, I imagine these huge die sheets. Yeah, there are some that are. I don't have any of the ones that are. All of mine are the much smaller ones. The main thing that I go for when I look at a die now is something that I would not want to hand cut. That is kind of like my be all and end all, if you will. I don't want to hand cut a whole bunch of the double wedding ring quilt that I've designed that I'll be issuing the pattern in January. That is an Accuquilt Go die. So it's not a studio die, it is a Go die. So it is available if you guys want to purchase that die. That will give you a leg up on people who have to hand cut or rotary cut. But like Drunkard's Path, I would buy. I've got Winding Ways. I do have one that is straight lines, but it's like a kite design. And I can't for the life of me think of the name of it, but I didn't want to hand cut it. Like I could not imagine trying to template cut this entire thing, and I was struggling to template cut it, so I just went ahead and bought I think it's called Hattie's Choice. I went and bought the die for it. Mike says, I like they can make one for your own design. Yes, and that was another reason I went with Studio. When I had the money to do it, that's why I went with Studio, is because you can, in the future, if you want to, you can have them make one specifically for your needs. So, like if I wanted a Studio die that fills up my entire tray that it goes on, because there is a huge tray that you feed through, and it's like 22 inches maybe. I don't think it's the full 24 that you need for those long strip cutters. That's why I haven't bothered with the strip cutters. But if I can think my words, Tammy, words. When, like, let's say I wanted to have a die that, I just lay fabric on, like lay a fat quarter on, and it cuts my 5-inch squares, it cuts a 10-inch square, it cuts all of these designs in whatever layout I decide. They would be able to design that for me. So I wouldn't have to sit there with a rotary cutter and cut all of these pre-cut designs. I would just, set it up and feed it through. Now, a place like Cotton Cuts, they use a cutter. It's not the Accuquilt cutter. It's an Accucut, I believe, is what I've seen in their videos. But it is the same basic principle. They lay the fabric on it, they roll everything through, and everything is cut for their mystery quilts. So they don't have to fuss with it, fight with it. They don't have to worry, did, Susan cut half of this? Did, Jennifer cut the other half? And, like, where are we getting problems at? All of that. So, that is the joy of die cutting. And that's why I love having the studio for die cutting. This quilt will take a lot longer to cut if you don't have the studio die. Okay, it's not going to take as much time cutting it jelly roll style, because I'm going to give you the measurements to cut it jelly roll style. Cutting it this size will take a little bit longer because you're going to be template cutting. And even though there's ways to speed up template cutting, you can only speed that up so much. Like, there's only so much that you can do to speed that up. So, it is what it is, right? It's not one or the other. It's Accucut, hello, expensive. Yeah, it's designed for, places like Cotton Cuts and things like that, where they do have these massive studios and take care of all of that. I think I just heard something at the door. I don't know. The dog didn't get up, so we'll have to see. I may have to go check here in a minute. Candace says, hi everyone, welcome in, Candace. Glad you made it. Glad you made it. So this live may not be as long as, the 2 hours, because all you guys are going to be doing is, this is the assembly. This is the majority of the assembly. Let me see, because I think I started with the silver, so let me sew through a gold set as well, and we'll pull it off and see how far we've got. And you are going to press these towards the triangles. It does not matter if your triangles are light colored compared to your fabric, or dark colored compared to your fabric. We are not concerned with, are we pressing to the light or pressing to the dark. Now if you do have, like if you're doing white and black, you might be a little bit more concerned. But all of your triangles, you either press towards the triangles or you press towards the chisels. It is one or the other. You don't change halfway through, okay? So once we get these 4 on, I will go ahead and press some of these, and I will show you what we're looking at and how this is going to come together. Because it is incredibly simple. There's no, believe it or not, I am actually finally issuing out a pattern with no twists and turns. Crystal's here. She says hi to you and everyone. Popping in to say hi and have a good day today. I got things going on. I'll try to watch replay later. Absolutely, Crystal. Thank you. Thank you for saying hi. I appreciate it. And you guys, as you are coming in and hanging around, if you guys will hit that thumbs up a little bit for me. I know some people say shamash. Some people say smash, some people say hit it, some people say tickle it. Whatever it is that you want to do with that like button, as long as that like button or that dislike button is active, I am happy. I am game for that dislike button. I haven't had anybody hit it yet. I figure that will eventually happen, but, I'm game either way. It doesn't bother me if somebody hits that dislike button. And because, as far as YouTube is concerned, you just interacted with me. So that is perfectly fine with me. I told that to someone local, and the response I got was, I would feel so bad about hitting the dislike button. I said, well, if it's a creator that you regularly are paying attention to, and all of that, all it is doing is showing YouTube that you interacted with them. That is all it is doing. If they're taking offense that you hit the dislike button, then, maybe they're not the content creator you wanted to watch. Alright, so I'm going to cut mine apart. And I have seen some of the new cutters. And I actually have a new cutter. A friend of mine, her husband is 3D printing, and I just have not found my small seam rippers to put into it. Her husband 3D printed me a seam ripper holder that works just like this cutter right here. So this little holder right here, you put your seam ripper in it with the pointy side up. Of course, you hang on to the cap so that you can cover it back up when you're done. But that is a super portable version. I mean, super tiny. You just, take your seam ripper out and put it in there. The little bitty seam rippers. But, this stands up and takes up a lot more room. So my portable one, I still have to find my small seam ripper for it. Donnell says, yes, everyone, please pay your rent. Smack that thumbs up. Thank you. And Mike says, I wish I could walk up to people and hit a dislike button. Oh, wait, maybe I do. My husband sent me something the other day, and it was, it was something along the lines of going up to someone and, putting your finger on their forehead and hitting, or saying, pause preview or, you know, something like that. Apparently that's considered rude. And I laughed. He doesn't do anything like that. I would be the one more likely to do something silly like that. Of course, I would do it to somebody who knows me and wouldn't be offended. I'm not going to do it to a complete stranger. That would be a little bit less likely to go over well. All right. I had some extra threads when I started. Let's see. Oh, I love it. Donnell says, Mike, I cannot afford your bail, big brother. And Mike is laughing. All right, so now we have this big stack. It's not super big, but a big stack of units that have the triangles sewn onto them. And again, if you are hand cutting these, when I give you the templates, the dog ears are for a reason, because these dog ears on this line up so beautifully, so you don't have to worry about, you know, where that seam allowance is. You just you just connect the lines, connect the dots. Mike says, it's like when I just stare at someone's forehead while they're talking to me. It's such a weird, great reaction. Oh, Mike, you and I need to hang out, buddy. You and I need to hang out. I ought to get you over here and get you to hang out over here. Because you and I would get into a lot of trouble together. I could see all the trouble we could get in together. Now, you guys know that I typically press things with the seams open. That is not what we're going to do on this quilt. Now, you can press and set your seams. I don't have a problem with that. That will not hurt you a bit to press your seams and set the threads. I'm not bothering with that on this project because it's not going to make a difference. I've done this project a few times and it's never made a difference for me. So, you know, it's no big deal. But if you do want to set your seams, you absolutely can. Mike says, yes, we might be very similar. Oh, maybe you need to come hang out with me while I sew my Halloween stitchy together. How does that sound? Are you up for a long live? Come hang out in Zoom. I have got to sew Halloween Town together. I've got to finish getting it stitched first. But we're going to sew Halloween Town together at the beginning of October sometime, as soon as I get the rest of it stitched out. And it's going to be a long live getting that put together. Oh, it'd be so much fun. So much fun. And it's not going to be super spooky, but it'll be a little spooky. So that'll give you stuff to play with. If you're game. No worries if you're not. Alright. Let's see. How many do I have? I have got the 4 silver. I've got 2 gold. And let me get 2 more gold. Alright. And this will be 1 block. So you need 8 total chisels. 4 that are each direction. And you will need 8 total triangles, 4 of each. So you've got 2 colors of triangles, or two variations of triangles. You need 4 of each. So each block does take 8 chisel pieces. All right, so this is 1 block worth, okay? So I'm going to put this up on the board so you guys can see it. Let me bring you guys over to my main camera real quick. And I'm going to turn this light off and fold it down out of the way and hope it doesn't fall over again. It has a habit. It has a bad habit of falling over, so we're going to hope that it doesn't fall over today. And we're going to hope that these stick up on my board. My fan is going today. So we're going to see. We're going to see. Oh, nope. Wrong color. Wrong color. All right. So you're going to pair these up when you get done putting them together. But for the purposes of just putting up on the board, I just want you guys to see what the basic shape looks like. So you will have a center block, a center row to your block. And then you will have these side pieces will fit together with the center block once they are sewn together. Okay, so we'll do more of this layout on the next video too. So I don't want you to get hung up about the layout specifically. But for every block that you want to complete, you will need 8 chisels. Okay? This is the basics of the block. So you guys can see the little comma or apostrophe design coming out in this. That is one of these. This is from here to here, here to here. Okay? It is one of these. That is what we have just laid up on the board. So you will need 8 of these to do that. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 in that with silver, and these are gold. Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's 2 blocks total. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I've got the total of 3 blocks sewn. Okay, so in the amount of time that we have already been live, I have sewn the equivalent of 3 blocks worth of chisel points. Okay, so just depending on how many blocks you want to make is how many blocks you need to sew. The quilt behind me is 3 blocks high and 3 blocks wide. This is a half of a block. There's a half of a block down here underneath. If you guys can see that now. And then there's a half a blocks up top and then half a blocks at the bottom. Now, one thing that you can do, if you do end up with extra pieces, like you don't end up with an even number of pieces or you want to do a little alteration to it, you can shift them. So if I took out this half block here and shifted all of this up and put that half block at the bottom, that would make this entire row straight, like, 3 different baubles, or 3 baubles. And then this one would be half, full, full, half. And then I'd probably do full, full, and full. So there's a lot of options that you can play with. So we're going to play with those on the next video. But I'm going to bring you guys back over so you guys can continue to watch me sew these together. And if you have any questions, you'll be able to ask those. But that is quite literally as simple as this quilt ends up being. Okay? So the cutting is the hardest part of this quilt. So when you have an Accuquilt that has the die that you can cut it with, that makes it simpler. But you will be able to do this even without an Accuquilt cutter. Okay? So again, what we're going to do is we're going to pull out 4 of our triangles in one colorway. And we're going to go ahead and pull out our 4 chisels. All 4 of the different colors that we're using. Okay? And then I'm going to put that there so I remember what I'm swapping to. And this also prevents you from accidentally sewing the wrong triangles to the wrong pieces. Ask me how many times I've done it but I won't be able to tell you because I lost count. I'm going to pull my thread up. I need to clean my machine out a little bit better. But I've got a little bit of gun in there right now. So my machine is eating my thread a little bit. But that's my fault. I have not cleaned her out in a little bit. I've been too busy actually sewing on her to stop and clean. But I will be having to do some cleaning coming up here soon. All right. Nope, I'm not on that 1/4 of an inch. I do like that this machine does have the presser foot up and down. So it takes care of it for me when I hit that presser foot, or hit the foot pedal. It takes care of the presser foot up and down. There's supposed to be a feature where I can, tap my heel or something, and it never works for me. I'm not good at tapping my heel. So, yeah, that doesn't work quite as well. But, yeah, being able to flop your which way your 1/4 of an inch is will help so you can keep your triangles on top. But if you can't do that, or your machine foot doesn't have that, or you're not comfortable doing that, because I know a lot of people who aren't, if you're not comfortable doing that, don't panic. I just recommend that you pin your pieces before you put your triangles on bottom. It's really easy to let those triangles shift on you and move around, and you really don't want that. One of the other things about this is your triangle, this edge that you are sewing on, this edge right here is bias. So don't stretch your pieces as you sew. It's very important not to stretch them. So if you do have a walking foot and you want to try perfecting your 1/4 of an inch with a walking foot, having the dog ears already cut is a great way to get that practice in. It's a fantastic way to do it. Fantastic way. So what is everyone else doing this wonderful Thursday morning? Since we are down to literally just rinse and repeat. That is all we are doing is rinse and repeat. And I'm not going to have all of these sewn today. I'm going to sew through all of my triangles. Not today, but I will sew through all of my triangles and then I'll stop. So I will end up with extra. I already know I will. I was not cutting specifically for a specific size, even though this is going to a very specific young person that is coming into the world, going to for a baby quilt. I did not cut these a specific size or cut a specific number for that, because I knew I was going to be teaching you guys. So I wanted some to play with. And I may end up making, a table runner or something like that to go, that I could sell off, or I may make a secondary baby quilt so another lucky family can have a similar baby quilt. I am thinking about starting to sell some of my quilts, you guys, if you guys are interested. 144 foundation paper piecing blocks for my glaze quilt. Ooh. I need to see this glaze quilt, Mike. Are you in my Facebook group? If you're not in my Facebook group and you want to be, do exclamation group. If you don't want to be in the Facebook group, which is fine, do exclamation email. If you don't already have my email, send me a picture. I want to see what this glaze quilt is that you're going to be doing. Judy says I'm putting the binding on that quilt and getting it ready to deliver tomorrow. Oh, that's exciting, Judy. I've been loving your pictures of your quilt. Those have been fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. You guys, Judy is one of the many members of our Facebook group, the Siberian Wind Quilting Group. And in that group, you are able to post pictures of what you're working on, share progress. If you want to enter Show and Tell, yay, thank you, Mike. I thought you were in the group. You can enter Show and Tell from the Facebook group. All the good stuff. Show and Tell is absolutely worth entering, let me tell you. Mike needs to do a video on it, says Judy. Ooh. Mike says, oh man, Judy, that would be trial by error. Well, if you come do it on my channel, like if you come be a guest on my channel, you got me to talk to and distract you from the fact that it is trial by error, because a lot of things are. Linda says, good afternoon. Stopping in to do lunch and relax for a bit. Absolutely. Absolutely. Welcome in, Linda. Well, she insisted on corduroy for the back. Oh my gosh. That's insane, Judy. Oh, she's got to be... all right. Is she a child of the 70s? Is that what's going on? Wasn't corduroy the huge thing in the 70s, or was that 80s? Because I had a Cabbage Patch doll that had corduroy overalls. And I was a child of the 80s, technically. I remember the 90s. a lot better than I remember the 80s. But golly, corduroy for the backing for a quilt. That's got to be tough to stitch through. Gosh. I mean, Minky is its own beast. And I did do a Minky backed quilt on a long arm, but it's so heavy. That quilt is just insanely heavy. I can't imagine corduroy being any lighter than that. From the 80s. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that would make sense. Oh my gosh. Corduroy backing for... Oh, I bet that's texturally fantastic. But that's got to be heavy. That's got to be heavy. One of my... I don't remember who it is now. I'm going to have to think. Mike says corduroy. Oy, my heart. Overload. Oh, gosh. I think I know who it is. If I'm not mistaken, I think I know who it is that did this. But she's told me that her home ec project, she made a corduroy pantsuit. And the front was she didn't realize corduroy is pile fabric. She had the front went one direction and the back went another. So it was a hot mess. It was a hot mess. She still wore it, but it was you knew which direction you were facing for her because corduroy has a definite pile. You're gluing the binding down before finishing the stitching. I don't blame you. That's a smart way to do it. That would absolutely be how I would probably do it if I thought of it. Because, yeah, I don't know that I could have done it. I don't know that I could have done it. Oh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I never would have thought of corduroy for a backing. So now, like, my mind is going 90 to nothing thinking about that backing. And how do you put a label on that? Do you, like, stitch it directly into the corduroy? Because you can't really applique on top of corduroy that I'm aware of. Oh. That's a new one. That's a new one. I had not heard of that. I'm proud of you. That's very bold to do. It will be a one-of-a-kind quilt for sure. Oh. Gosh, I want to go feel it now. I want to go feel your quilt that you're making. Oh. Oh my gosh. So my Cabbage Patch doll that had the corduroy overalls, her hair was red and her overalls were purple. And then people wonder where my favorite color came from. But purple overalls, I knew it was definitely the 80s to have purple overalls. Super heavy, says Mike, right? That's one of those that you get comfy underneath it and you're going to stitch the label down. That's one of those you get comfy underneath it and then you don't move. Or you get comfy and then you have somebody come lay it on top of you because you're not going to be able to move once it's on top of you. Oh, I can imagine that being perfect for up here, very, very northern thing. Keeping warm and all in the heavy winter. I could not imagine being from the southeast. I could not imagine having a corduroy quilt and living in Alabama or Florida or Texas or anything like that. I could not imagine that being comfortable during any season. Because even winter in the southeast is it's not cold. I mean, they say it's cold. It's for oh, okay, so it'll go on the floor, and that corduroy will hold it in place. That's a good idea. Weighted blanket. I feel like I'm in a prison under one, says Mike. I could see that for a baby blanket, for like our baby quilt, for it going on the floor as a playmat quilt. Was that the intention? Because that's a great idea for that. I hadn't thought about that. Because that's going to attach itself to the floor or carpeting. It's going to be heavy enough. It shouldn't shift that much even on a wood or tile floor. That'd be cute. I hadn't thought about that. I'm thinking big, like lap quilt or like throw or something. Could you imagine, Mike? Can you imagine a king size corduroy backed quilt? Oh, Judy says that's what she's thinking. She has no idea. Okay, so Mama asked for it, and Judy's delivering. That sounds like a plan. Oh, that's hilarious. I don't think if you did a king size one, that's like, you don't need any other sheets on that bed. You just need that blanket. You might need a sheet to protect yourself from the corduroy and having all the static electricity at night. You know, waking up and seeing sparks under the covers. But there would be no need for any other blankets on that bed. Mike says that he's sweating thinking about it. But see, you could open your windows at night, Mike, and that would be nice and warm even with the windows open. You could freeze out your neighbors and you'd still be comfortable. That would be a good emergency quilt. Like if the power goes out and you don't have an alternative option for heating. I could see that being a very good car quilt too. Because especially like, you know, out here in Wyoming, especially in the winter, you need to plan to be stranded. You might not get stranded. That's the hope, is that you won't get stranded. But you need to plan to be stranded so that way you have everything that you would need in that kind of emergency. And you would be able to survive for longer than the day trippers who didn't plan for it. Judy says, no, this is the last and only corduroy backing that I will do. Oh, come on. Why ever would you say that? As I'm laughing hysterically. This is the rolling on the floor laughing. Oh. Yeah, me and Mike getting together would be detrimental probably, because he and I will be coming up with ideas. There will be ideas to be had. Oh, goodness. I could have so much fun. Yeah, Mike, if you're a game, send me an email if you want to do it. Chloe says, hello, Tammy and all. Popping in for a few minutes on my lunch break. Absolutely, Chloe. Welcome, welcome. We are just sewing all of these chisels. Not all of them. We're not going to get through all of them today. I'm going to probably stop here in the next 20 minutes or so. I have a doctor's appointment today. So we are going to stop a little early. We're not going to go a full 2 hours. But yeah, we are just sewing triangles to chisels today. And the design you see up on the wall is 8 of the chisels put together. They're not actually sewn together, the chisels, but the triangles are sewn. But the chisels are not sewn to each other. That's what we're going to do in the last video. We're going to sew them together like that. And I'll show you the different layout options that you can do with it. Because there's a lot more than just what you're seeing up on the board. There's a lot to be had. And that's the one reason I like this particular size of chisel. Versus the smaller one. Granted, you guys look at the free pattern, that will be the smaller size. But I really think that this larger size lends itself very well to making a cohesive quilt. And actually, we're going to go ahead and stop here. Let's see, there we go. I'm going to get these cut apart. And we're going to see where we're at, because I've got 3 blocks worth right now. Let's see, that is 4 of that. And 4 of that. So that's makes 4 blocks total. Because you need 8 chisels for each one. Okay, so that's 5 blocks now. And that's 6 blocks. Okay, so we've gotten 6 blocks sewn together in the course of just over an hour. So they go together really quick and simple. The chisels do not, they shouldn't give you a lot of grief going together with the triangles. But you do need 8 pairs of triangle chisel sets in order to make each block. So that is kind of the goal, is you want to get those sewn together like that. And that is really all that video 2 is going to be for. When we come back next week, I will have the pattern links available. They will go up at the end of the video, so you guys can't go download it while I'm on live. You gotta wait until after the live, but they will go up during the end of the live. So you guys will be able to click the links and go straight to downloading either the free version and or the purchase version that has the full sizes of these that match the Accuquilt die and the pattern behind us. Chloe says, looking good. This pattern is on my to-do list in the future. Yay! That's awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing what everybody does with this, because it is more versatile than what it looks like it can be. Let's see. Andrea says, I have an acrylic chisel template that I use a lot for star blocks. Yeah, that would work too. That would absolutely work. So you can absolutely base it off of that. Mine, again, I'm going to issue out 2 patterns. I'm going to issue out a free one that's going to be a smaller size, that, I'm going to put all that together, do all the math, all of that. And then you guys will get a template version that will follow this size. So you can make these exact size baubles instead of much smaller ones. Okay? And then if you do have chisel dies like Andrea says that she does, or chisel templates, you absolutely can do that as well. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and end this here. I want to thank you all for being here, for coming to hang out, coming to see what's going on, coming to chat, and be naughty, Mike. All of the fun stuff that we do here over at my channel. We will be live Saturday morning, 9 a.m., so you guys will probably get to see a quilted quilt for my client. You'll get to see whatever else I am working on. So please, please, please put it on your calendar, Saturday morning, 9 a.m. And then we'll be back again Sunday evening at 8. Thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out with me. Have a great afternoon, and I will see you guys later.